I never thought a Saturday night could feel heavier than the world itself. But that was the night everything shifted. My name is Michael. I'm 42. For 15 years I believed marriage was about loyalty, trust, and small shared victories. I never imagined it could be undone in one weekend. My wife Jessica had gone to her cousin's wedding in Boston. A long weekend she insisted would recharge her spirit after months of work and chaos. I waved her off at the door Friday morning, kissed her cheek, told her to have fun, and assumed I'd see her Sunday night with stories and photographs, maybe a new outfit and a slightly brighter smile. I never thought the memories she brought back would carry secrets heavy enough to shatter the life we'd built. The day she returned, I noticed the way she hugged me. It was tight but not the same as before. Her lips brushed mine, but it was fleeting. Almost as if she were testing a boundary she wasn't ready to cross. I laughed it off, convincing myself I was being paranoid. Jessica was just tired from travel, I told myself. Still, something in her eyes flickered. A hesitation I couldn't place. We sat at the dinner table that night, the remnants of her suitcase in the corner. She recounted stories from the wedding. The food, the music, the ridiculous antics of relatives. But every anecdote seemed slightly off, too rehearsed, too vague. When I asked about her cousin's fiancé, she paused a moment longer than normal before answering, then smiled. That smile didn't reach her eyes. My stomach sank. I went to bed early that night, pretending to scroll through my phone. Sleep didn't come easily. Around midnight, I heard the soft creak of the bedroom door. Jessica tiptoed in, carrying a small bag I hadn't noticed before. She whispered something I couldn't catch at first, then froze when she saw me awake. I didn't move. I didn't speak. She placed the bag on the dresser and left almost as quietly as she had entered. Sunday morning brought no relief. I tried to bring it up casually over breakfast, but she deflected with practiced ease. "Oh, it's nothing, Michael. Just some gifts from the wedding." Her tone was calm, almost too calm, and it irritated me more than it should have. For a fleeting moment, a terrible thought crossed my mind, but I pushed it away. We'd been through years of ups and downs, I reasoned. Surely this was nothing. Later that afternoon I found myself cleaning out the guest room. A routine I'd taken to in order to keep my mind busy. That's when I saw it. Hidden beneath a pile of towels, a small envelope addressed to someone named Ryan. My heart stopped. Ryan was not a name I recognized from our family or friends. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were photographs, not just casual snapshots. There were images of Jessica, my wife, laughing, standing closer than any husband should allow to a man I had never met. Her hand rested on his arm. Her head leaned in just slightly too much. I felt a hollow twist in my chest. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to rip the photos apart, but I didn't. I couldn't. I folded them neatly back into the envelope and placed it on the dresser while my mind raced. The rest of the day passed in a haze. Every casual smile she gave me, every word she said, I analyzed for hidden meaning. Was she still the woman I married? Or had she quietly become someone else? Someone I didn't recognize? It wasn't until Monday evening that the final blow came. Jessica's daughter from a previous relationship, Ava, came over to drop off some papers she had borrowed. Ava had always been polite and cordial, but something in her demeanor that night was sharp, almost wary, as she passed me the documents. She lingered longer than usual and then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Mr. Michael, I think you should know my mom didn't just have fun at the wedding. She's been seeing someone else." I froze. My hands gripped the edge of the table so tightly I thought I might break it. My mind spun. 15 years of loyalty, of shared struggles, of raising Ava together in a blended household. And this was a truth I had never seen coming. My head spun as I asked, "What? What do you mean?" Ava looked at me, her eyes wide with guilt and fear. I overheard her. She called him last night. She's planning to move in with him soon. I didn't know how to tell you. I'm sorry. The room seemed to tilt. I could barely process the words. I felt betrayal not just from my wife, but from every memory I had cherished. Every plan I had made. The quiet horror of it settled over me like a weight. I had always been the patient one, the man who tried to fix things with love and understanding. But this was beyond repair. That night I stayed awake staring at the ceiling, feeling every year of my marriage compress into a single unbearable moment. The betrayal wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, insidious, and it cut deeper than anything I had imagined. By the time dawn broke, I knew with absolute certainty what I had to do. Filing for divorce didn't bring immediate relief. It brought clarity. I spent the morning in silence, staring at the documents on my kitchen table. The official forms, the financial disclosures, the papers requesting joint custody arrangements for Ava. All of it screamed reality. Jessica had crossed a line, and there was no going back. But even as my hand hovered over the pen, I felt a strange, sharp pang of sadness. 15 years. 15 years of shared life. Laughter, arguments, compromises, and quiet moments that nobody would ever see. All of it undone by a single weekend. Ava noticed my expression, her eyes weary but curious. "Dad, are you going to be okay?" she asked softly, her voice small and trembling. I forced a smile I didn't feel. "I'll be fine, sweetheart. We'll get through this." I wanted to shield her from the truth, the full magnitude of the betrayal. But I knew she already sensed it. Kids always sense more than adults give them credit for. Later that afternoon, I decided to confront Jessica. Not out of hope, but for closure. I called her, trying to keep my voice calm and measured. "Jessica, we need to talk." Her response was cold, clipped. "About what, Michael?" I thought everything was clear. I felt the old fire of frustration flare. "Clear? You've been hiding things. You've been dishonest. And now I'm finding out from Ava that there's someone else. How long were you planning to let this go on?" There was a pause, a long one. And then almost casually she said, "You think you have the right to be angry? You've been predictable, boring, stagnant. I wanted something different. That's all." The words hit like a hammer. 15 years of love, trust, commitment, reduced to a statement that made me sound like some dull obstacle in her life. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just listened, letting her bitterness roll over me. Inside, a storm was raging, but I refused to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. That evening, I packed a small bag and stayed at a friend's house. For the first time in years, I felt a strange lightness, a release from invisible chains I hadn't realized had bound me. I wasn't running. I wasn't defeated. I was finally taking my life back. A week later, the reality of divorce proceedings hit. Jessica's lawyer contacted me, demanding temporary financial support and access to shared accounts. I followed my attorney's guidance precisely. Calm, factual, unflinching. Every request she made, every emotional plea, was met with the same adherence to the law. Nothing more. No indulgence, no negotiation outside the system. The power she had tried to wield over me through manipulation evaporated when the rules of reality were enforced. Ava came to me later that week, her expression nervous. "Dad, do you hate Mom now?" she asked. Her innocence cut through the anger and hurt. I took a deep breath. "No, sweetheart. I don't hate her. I just know we can't be together anymore, and that's okay. Sometimes people make choices we can't control." Her little hand squeezed mine. I realized that protecting her and my own peace was more important than vengeance or heartbreak. Everything else, money, possessions, shared memories, would follow. But the core of my life, my integrity, and my bond with Ava remained untouchable. Then came the final confrontation. Jessica arrived at the house to collect some personal items. I stood in the living room, watching her sort through her belongings with a detachment that mirrored her own. She glanced at me once, her eyes betraying a flicker of regret, then looked away. I stayed silent, letting the moment stretch. Finally I spoke. "Jessica, 15 years isn't erased by a weekend or one mistake, but it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to me now, to how I move forward, to how I raise Ava, to how I heal." She paused. For the first time I saw vulnerability, not manipulation, not anger, just human fragility. But it was too late. The trust had broken irreparably. The life we shared had been contaminated by secrets, and nothing she said could undo that. She nodded slightly, a silent acknowledgement of defeat, then left. Weeks turned into months. The house in Denver was quiet. Ava and I settled into a new routine: school, work, weekends filled with small adventures. Slowly, the sting of betrayal dulled, replaced by clarity and, unexpectedly, gratitude. I had survived the end of something I thought unbreakable. And in doing so, I discovered strength I hadn't known existed. One evening after Ava had gone to bed, I sat on the porch with a glass of whiskey, looking at the horizon. The sky was streaked with the purples and oranges of sunset. I realized that the life I thought had ended had only transformed. I wasn't the same man who had waved Jessica off that Friday. I was sharper, wiser, and no longer willing to settle for less than respect, honesty, and true love. And somewhere deep down I knew this betrayal had torn me apart, yes. But it had also given me something far more valuable, the courage to choose myself. By the time the stars emerged in the dark sky, I had decided to move forward without resentment, without bitterness. Jessica's choices were her own, and my life was mine. 15 years had ended, but a new chapter, one of honesty, self-respect, and real possibility, was just beginning. The betrayal stung, the shock lingered. But in that quiet night I realized something crucial. Sometimes the people we love most teach us the hardest lessons. And sometimes the hardest lessons open the door to the life we were always meant to live.